as a dental practitioner that got his start in research, I've always been interested in looking at products and looking at how they behave and how they compare against other products of the same category. And with composite grafting plugs, it was no different. With the proliferation of a lot of plugs on the market, I wanted to know what the difference was. I was very used to the handling characteristics and the physical feel of an Osteogen plug, and I wanted to know what these other plugs were like to really be able to make an informed decision on what was best for myself and best for my practice. When I took a look at these plugs, I did my own unofficial bench testing, and with this unofficial bench testing, I essentially took a carbonated apatite plug and an Osteogen plug, put them side by side, and then put them through a couple little tests. And the first thing I did was looked at them both dry. There was significant differences between the two. The Osteogen plug was very uniform in structure. You couldn't really see the crystals in it. It was more of a smooth exterior and very solid in structure, where the carbonated apatite plugs had a much more loose collagen fiber, and you could see particulate underneath that, kind of swimming in it. Feeling them side by side, just squishing them side by side, they felt very different. The carbonated apatite plugs felt very similar to a standard collagen plug that you might use for hemostasis or in an extraction site, but not a graft material. And then I wanted to see how they behaved when it got wet. And so I rehydrated them with some water and with a little food coloring in it, so I could simulate the look of blood and maybe make it visually look different. And again, very stark contrast between the two products. The Osteogen plug essentially just became saturated and held its structure very uniformly and very tightly. And the carbonated apatite plug, then it swelled, the collagen swelled inside, and it got loose and it got gooey. Handling it started to kind of break apart, and the size of the particles are much, much larger, and they're not really uniformly distributed throughout the plug. And so you can literally see these large particulate inside this collagen. And as I manipulated this more in just kind of simulating what would happen if I went to go put a plug into a site, it gets wet with blood, and maybe I have to remove the plug and reposition it for whatever reason. That was almost an impossibility with these plugs because of how soft and how they just kind of fell apart. So for me, that handling characteristic was not a plus. It was not in the category of something that I want to deal with. Comparing that to the Osteogen plug, which stays together, it doesn't break apart easily. Sure, it becomes softer when it becomes hydrated with patient's blood, but it stays together more of as a cohesive structure of crystal and collagen rather than separating apart. And so, from a handling point of view, I was not impressed by what was what these plugs were like. And in my own practice, and I think about how I use it, I use these plugs not only for socket preservation, but, for example, a vertical sinus lift. And in a vertical sinus lift, many times we have perforations that we may overlook, or perforations that may occur once we start to put pressure on the membrane. And I am always confident with an Osteogen plug that it's going to stay together, that it's not going to migrate at all. And by doing that, I know if I get a small perforation, it's probably going to be inconsequential. The Schneiderian membrane is going to heal up very quickly over the top of it. I don't have to worry about particulates going anywhere. But I kind of imagined myself, if I used this other type of plug, what would happen if I did get a tear in a membrane. And I think the result would be very similar to what you get if you use a particulate, you would end up with grafting material that would be migrated into the sinus cavity and could potentially cause an infection or an inflammation. And again, so this was kind of the second thing that I saw, because of the way I like to use these products, that wouldn't really fit into the way that I would use this grafting product. So, bottom line is, you need to understand the products that are out there. Just because products look similar doesn't mean that they're going to behave the same or going to be able to perform the same. And I really think you should take the time to take a look at these products and see what the true difference is and how they differ greatly from the Osteogen product, which I've been using daily in my practice for the last 12 years, and would continue to use it because the performance on it is really second to none. So, you know what? Know your products, take your time, read, be educated, and use the things that are going to be best for not only your patients, but for your practice and you as a practitioner.